Welcome to Back in the Groove. If you're new here, my name's Keith, and I'm getting back into vinyl after having my collection in storage for more than 25 years. Now, that is an intro that I've been doing for all of my videos, and it's very true that my collection, most of which you can see behind me, of vinyl has been in storage for more than 25 years. But I'm also getting back into physical media in general. So that includes my CD collection, which has been in storage for a shorter period, probably 5 or 6 years, and also videos, VHS, DVDs, etc. And I've been able to, since reconfiguring my room, get all of my collection out of storage and back so that it's easily accessible. Now, one of the problems with the vinyl that I've got is that I stopped really collecting vinyl, as I said, more than 25 years ago, which means that we had a whole period, a whole generation in effect, where I didn't buy vinyl. So most of the vinyl that I've got is quite dated. And there's obviously been lots and lots of great music out in that period that for a reasonable amount of that time, I was buying CDs. Other points in time, I was streaming. And one of the things that I like about these videos and some of the feedback that I've had is that it's great when you discover a band that someone mentions or an album that piques your interest, and you can go off and research that band or artist. So I thought what I would do today is look at some items that are newer than the vinyl. So they've come from my CD collection in the main. Um, and these are some albums that I would highly recommend people check out. There some great albums that I've got in my collection, and I just thought I'd show you some of these gems, and you can go off and research and let me know if you've got any of them, of course. Now, of course, if you like the content, do remember to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That really helps me out and will help the channel grow. But let's get in to the first item, and that is Matador, and this is Save Us From Ourselves. Now, Matador were a band from Puerto Rico. They're a heavy rock band, but to just say that doesn't really do them justice. They've got uh, a hard edge to them, but there's lots of keyboards in there as well, lots of great melodies. So they're a kind of a real mix between a hard rock, melodic rock, and some progressive elements in there as well. Now, this was originally released in 1991, I believe, and this was never released on vinyl. It was released as a CD, released in Puerto Rico in 1991. But apparently, what happened was that in 1993, the guitarist left the band and a new guitarist was hired, and they re-recorded the entire album and released it in 1994 with some European distribution. Now, that is the copy that I've got in my hand, and it's got 12 tracks on it. Now, there's some fantastic tracks on here. There's a great track called Fear. In brackets, it's got HIV, so I think we can guess what that's about. But there's a great ballad with If You're Gone. There's a real rocker called Live Your Life, Not Mine. And some great tracks, including the title track from the band. Now, the original CD of this goes for hundreds and hundreds of pounds. I'm not sure what this one goes for. This isn't even on Discogs because apparently there's no way to put the same titled album on there for the same country, I think. At least that's what the person said about the listing that they'd put up. So I highly recommend you check this out. I think you can check this out on YouTube. I don't know how easy it is to buy. I don't know how common this European version is, but it's a really great album for people to check out. Now, second is an album and a band called Morning Wood. Now, this is an unusual album in a way because there's lots and lots of cover songs on here. Now, this is essentially Tony Harnell from TNT, Al Pitrelli, Chuck Bonfant, if that's how you say that, and Danny Miranda. And they do some great, amazing cover versions on this, sprinkled with a few of their own songs. Now, it's got a real acoustic-y vibe to it, and some of the tracks that they do a mashup of Tonight I'm Falling, which is a TNT song, with Crazy on You by Heart, which is a really great sort of mashup. They do some Eagles songs. They do Desperado, One of These Nights. They do some Crosby, Stills and Nash stuff, some Supertramp. They do Love Hurts by Nazareth. And it's a really, really well done album with some great covers. This is a Japanese release. I'm not sure if it was only ever available as a Japan release or not, but I would highly recommend checking this out, especially if you're a fan of Tony Harnell or Al Pitrelli. Now, next up is an album by a singer that I think is massively underrated. He's a fantastic singer, best known probably for his work with Vivian Campbell in the Riverdogs. This is Rob Lamoth. Now, Rob Lamoth has put lots of solo CDs out, but this is the pick of the bunch for me, and this is the album that got me into him. And the album's called Being Human. Now, if I'm honest, at times it's quite a sort of dark CD in a way, or dark album. There's lots of problems, I think, about sort of drug misuse. The first track is called Clean, which is about getting clean. I think they've got Misery. You've got When You Go Down, which is kind of about someone who's dying. You've got a great track, which I think is a cover, called Saracen Blade, which is absolutely fantastic. You got a track called Blu-ray, which I think is about Ray Gillen, but I might be wrong. Just some fantastic songs on here. If you can appreciate the sort of darker, moodier side of things. As I say, he's got a great voice. I was lucky enough to see him at the 12 Bar Club in London. If you don't know the 12 Bar Club, it's a tiny venue. You're probably lucky if you can get 100 people in there. And he was fantastic when I saw him. It was just him, and I think his son was accompanying him on drums, and he was just on acoustic guitar, and a massively underrated artist. And that is one of my favorite albums by him. Now, next up, we've got some hard rock in the form of Glory, and the album of theirs I've chosen is Crisis vs. Crisis. Now, Glory is led by Goran Edman. It's a Swedish band, effectively. Goran Edman, of course, you'll probably know from working with Yngwie Malmsteen, but he's done so many great things. Absolutely love the guy. He's an amazing singer, in my opinion. And Glory just had a great sort of vibe about them. They had some great riffs, they had the great vocals, as I've said, but they also had a bit of a a quirkiness about them as well. And there's some fantastic tracks on here. Right from the first track, Exposure, to Celebration. Um, they do a great track called The Battle of the Bridge, which is got this amazing slow sort of intro, and Goran Edmonds' vocals on that are fantastic. But just an all-round great heavy rock album, and highly recommend checking this out. Next up, we've got an album by Misha Calvin called Riffman. Now, I think Misha Calvin only put out three albums. One of them was called Evolution, and it had a few tracks on with Tony Martin of Black Sabbath. This, I think, is the last of his albums. I'm not aware of anything he recorded after this, but this is a really good album. Now, Misha Calvin himself, I want to say, was from Yugoslavia, I think, or what was Yugoslavia. I don't know many of the other members on here. Matthew Smith is the guy who does the vocals on the album, but there's some great stuff on here that's quite different to lots of other hard rock that I've heard. It's not your typical kind of stuff. There's a great track called You Fake the Truth, which is a second track. It's got a real quirky start to it with some kind of almost reggae sort of vibes before the guitar really kicks in. Say My Name is a fantastic song about, you know, a down and out, if you like, somewhat people passing them by, not respecting them because of their situation. Falling for You is a great ballad, and he ends the album with a track called Lost, which is a great instrumental. So Misha Calvin is the guitarist, a bit of a guitar sort of virtuoso, I suppose, but a fantastic album and well worth checking out. Now, next up, some of you might be familiar with the work of Stevie Salas. There was Stevie Salas's Color Code, a kind of a funky rock outfit. And I've been lucky enough again to see Stevie Salas at a small club. It's actually supporting Richie Kotzen. They were working together for Cornford Amps, and doing a show at a little venue in Kent. He was a great guy. Got to hang out with him. Really interesting guy. Now, he'd played guitar for the Rolling Stones, and I guess it was while playing with the Rolling Stones he met Bernard Fowler, who is a backing vocalist and a long-term backing vocalist for the Rolling Stones, and they've put together this album under the title of Nickelbag, not Nickelback, but Nickelbag, and it's a great sort of funky heavy rock album, very much in a Stevie Salas style, but Bernard Fowler's vocals are really good on this, and there's some real heavy kind of funk in here, from the opening track of Love Song till we get to Hit It and Quit It is another great one. You got Too Many Mountains, Sweet Thang, just some great stuff on here. They also do a Bowie track called Win, which I'm not familiar with, and they do is it Hot's On for Nowhere, I think, is a Zepp song, and it's just, if you're into a kind of funkier edged rock, it's a really great album to check into. And next up, I've got a CD by Empty Tremor, who are a band from Greece. And this was, I think, their second album. It's a album called Eros and Thanatos, which is a concept album. And these are, at the time, I kind of thought of them as a kind of a poor man's Dream Theater. They're very much in that progressive metal vein that was really popular around the time that this came out, with bands like Dream Theater themselves, Vanden Pla, tons of bands wanting to kind of imitate that Dream Theater technical metal, technical rock. Now, the guys' vocals on this can be a little thin, a little tinny, perhaps, but there's some great stuff on here. The opening track, "The Future Needs Your Name," is a really good track, as is Y2K. And I really recommend checking this out as well if you're into your progressive metal. Next up, we've got an album by Alfonsetti called Ready. Now, Matty Alfonsetti was the singer with a band called Jagged Edge, which you might remember. He's also done lots of other side projects with Skin Trade, Impera, I think. But I really like his solo stuff, and this is a really great album. The opening track in particular, which is another cover, is called "Blowing Up Detroit," and I'm trying to think who did the original of it. It's slipping my mind at the moment, but it's an absolutely great, high energy, high paced song. But there's some other amazing tracks on here. "I'm Ready" is a good sort of real typical Jagged Edge kind of bluesy rock kind of feel to it, and I've always felt that Matty Alfonsetti's got that really sort of bluesy sort of tone to him. He's got a really smooth, really silky lyrics or voice he's got. "In the Groove" is another really good one, but the ballad at the end of this is fantastic. It's called "The Things That Make You Cry," and it's an absolutely gorgeous song. So Matty Alfonsetti, or the band Alfonsetti, well worth checking out, particularly if you've been a fan of Jagged Edge, or any of the other Matty Alfonsetti bands. Now, those CDs that I've just shown you are interesting because they were never released on vinyl. So, as much as I want to be into vinyl, they don't exist on vinyl. So I can't go out, buy the vinyl for those, add it to the collection. And this is why I think it's so important to look at CDs still. The CDs are still, to me, a very valuable media. Of course, we all love albums, especially people of my age, where we grew up with the 12-inch album, and that is the ultimate form factor. I totally agree. But between the availability of certain albums and the pricing of particularly new releases, I feel that it's impossible to build a collection that solely exists around vinyl. So I've got a few more CDs that I want to go through now, but these ones do have vinyl versions of them, although they may have came out on CD first, and maybe only got a vinyl release very recently. Now, the first of those is OSI, which I think originally stood for Office of Strategic Intelligence. Now, originally, the first release of this featured Kevin Moore, Jim Matthias, I think, and from Fates Warning, and Mike Portnoy was in the band as well on the first album. Now, Mike Portnoy is not on this album, I think. Oh no, he is. Mike Portnoy is actually on this as well. It must be, I don't know, a guest appearance or whatever. But this is a fantastic stuff. The band, I think, are amazing, and the combination in particular of Kevin Moore and Jim Mathias is really good. You've got the pounding sort of hard guitars of Jim Mathias, and then you've got the great electronic synthesis of Kevin Moore put together in a really interesting blend of keyboards and guitar. And what makes it even more unique is Kevin Moore's vocal style. He's really not much of a singer, and the vocals are always almost more spoken, or almost feel like they're spoken at least. But honestly, try this out if you've not heard it before and you're open-minded into progressive rock. Now, I say progressive; these aren't necessarily lengthy songs that change dramatically within the song. But they are, they are. I would definitely term it as progressive. And there's some amazing tracks on here. Go, I think, was the single from this, which is really good. Bigger Wave, Free, Better, all amazing tracks. Although we've got Mike Portnoy on drums, there's probably drum machines on here as well. But a really fantastic album. This one's a special edition with a bonus disc as well, which has some demos and some additional things on the album as well. But I would definitely recommend checking out OSI. I'd also recommend checking Kevin Moore's other work out under the moniker of Chroma Key. I'm a big fan of Chroma Key as well. Now, next up, staying in a kind of progressive metal feel, I'm going to recommend what I think is possibly one of the best progressive metal albums out there. And that's this album by Ark, and this is called Burn the Sun. Now, this was always only available on CD until literally about a month ago, I think it was released. I missed out on the releases of the vinyl, otherwise I would have maybe bought a copy of this. This has got Jon Land on vocals. We've got is it Tor Osby, I think, on guitar, and we've got John Macaluso, who is an American drummer. I'm just checking. I think it is John. Yeah, John Macaluso. It's also got Matt Olison on keyboards. So it's an absolutely great album. I think Tori Osby's from Norway as well as Jon Land. But there's the production on this is fantastic. The blend of the drums and guitar have got a real flamenco flavor, crazy as that may sound to them. Although it's in a very heavy progressive vein. It's some amazing tracks on here. Heal the Waters is fantastic. Torn is amazing. The last track called Missing You, which is about 9 minutes long, is a fantastic song that builds from a very sort of basic sort of keyboard intro with Jon Land singing, and the song just builds over the entire 9 minutes and just ends in a real sort of crescendo of guitars and things. I would really strongly recommend checking this out if you're into progressive metal at all. Now, I'm going to switch up gears completely on the next one. I've always said I'm a big fan of Elvis Costello. Um, but I was quite intrigued when I saw this collaboration with Burt Bacharach. Now, Burt Bacharach is a famous songwriter that I'm sure many of us may have heard of, even if we don't think we know his stuff. I think he would have written lots of hits in the 60s for lots of artists. I seem to think he did some things for Dusty Springfield, possibly. And so an unlikely kind of collaboration for me. But quite honestly, this is the best thing Elvis Costello's ever done, if you ask me. It's written in a style that's actually really sort of embracing that 60s vibe of Burt Bacharach. But the tunes are just amazing. Elvis Costello's storytelling within the song, his vocals are really good on this. The songs are catchy, yet there's quite a sort of uh, darker theme to them. A lot of them seem to be themed around sort of, relationship breakdowns and things like that. But it's a really amazing album. If you're into Elvis Costello at all, or like that sort of more laid back kind of 60s ish pop vibe, this is an amazing album. Burt Bacharach is fantastic in his songwriting, and I remember reading an interview once about this, and the way they did this was Burt Bacharach would write some piano, etc., and he'd be playing it to Elvis over the phone, and then he'd be writing the lyrics to it over the phone. It was just incredible, the way that they teamed up and put that together. And then I've got one more for you, and this is an album by a band called Z. And this is Ahmet and Dweezil Zappa, sons of Frank Zappa. You'll know Dweezil in particular has had a solo career, has done lots of things for his in memory of his father, lots of concerts, continuing the Zappa music. Ahmed now, I think, runs the whole Zappa estate, I think, and the release of Zappa material from the archives. But this is their first album that they did. I think they did two. This is called Shampoo Horn, and the second one was called Music for Pets. It's a really quirky style of rock. And again, Ahmet Zappa's vocals are not the best, but there's a real nice vibe between them. There's lots of great guitar work on here. Dweezil Zappa's a great guitarist, was a big friend of Eddie Van Halen's, and I think they, used to meet often. Whether he was taught to some degree by Eddie Van Halen, I'm not sure, but there's lots of stories, and I think he may have purchased guitars from Eddie, etc. But anyway, it's a great album, great rock album, quite quirky. The tracks, the themes to them. One of them is called Kid Cereal, where they're singing "I want to be a kid cereal," and there's all these terms about being crispy and crunchy and what have you. But there's some other things. Just the real world. What went wrong in the real world, for instance, is a great song. And if you don't mind things being a little quirky in style, then I would check these out, because there's something really endearing about the album to me, and it's really enjoyable. I think this is available, like the last couple I've mentioned, on vinyl now as well. But another one worth checking out. So there you go. Let me know what you think of this type of video, where I'm just pulling out some albums to recommend from my collection. Some of them might be a little bit more obscure. Some are, you're probably more than well aware of, especially those of you into melodic, hard, progressive rock like I am. But anyway, until the next video, bye for now.